Right. I'm off to deal with the fate of the planet. Be gentle with them.
Oh, you know me, Mark. Kid gloves, but made from real kids.
When you hear the name The Punisher, you probably think of old Frankie Boy, Frank Castelloli, Frank Castle, the relentless vigilante waging a one-man war on crime. But what if I told you that he's not the only one to have done the skull and take up the fight? Now today, in honor of Daredevil Born Again, we're diving into the world of some of the most notable female Punishers in Marvel history. And each of these women have carried on Castle's mission in their own way and for a very specific time. Also, they weren't like technically called Punisher in the books themselves, but they did wear the skull and everything. So let's talk about Lynn Michaels, Rachel Cole Alves, and Jennifer Chisar. Now, first up, we have Lynn Michaels, debuting in The Punisher War Journal issue 24 back in 1990. Lynn was a tough as nails NYPD officer who saw firsthand how the system failed victims. She first crossed paths with Frank during an undercover sting operation, and soon she found herself disillusioned with the limitations of the law. After teaming up with Castle, Lynn began walking the line between justice and vengeance, taking on some criminals with brutal efficiency. Now, unlike Frank, she wasn't driven by personal loss. She simply saw crime for what it was and decided to take matters into her own hands. She even temporarily took over as the Punisher when Frank was out of commission, and over time she has kind of evolved into her own form of a solo vigilante rather than staying as Frank's sidekick. And it is important to remember that over time she eventually disappeared from the spotlight, and I'm not sure that many people even remember her being like the Punisher. Next, we have Rachel Cole Alves, one of the most tragic and intense Punishers in Marvel history. Created by Greg Rucka in 2011, Rachel was a decorated Marine ready to start a new chapter of her life when tragedy struck. On her wedding day, her husband and everyone at the reception were gunned down by a criminal syndicate, and Rachel was left for dead. She survived, just barely, but her soul was shattered and she was practically in the same predicament as Frank. Now fueled by grief and rage, Rachel sought vengeance. When she crossed paths with Frank, he saw something in her, a reflection of himself, and unlike other Punishers, Rachel was trained in modern military tactics, making her almost as lethal as Frank himself. But unlike Frank, she did struggle with the psychological toll of being the Punisher. Her story is kind of like a mix between tragedy, violence, and ultimately redemption. And it was more than simply then revenge. It was about whether someone could actually live with those consequences of a war on crime. Rachel too eventually faded from the comic books, but her impact is still kind of there. It would be cool to have her back for one or two issues, honestly, and the same goes for Lynn Michaels. For the last character of this video, we need to step outside of the main Marvel universe and into the world of Punisher Max. Now, the Punisher of Punisher Max is pretty similar to the regular of 616. The only difference is that the Frank Castle of the Punisher Max universe ages in real time. So, quick notice here. The Marvel comics have a sliding time scale, and Frank Castle was originally introduced as a Vietnam vet, but that had to be changed gradually over time because the sliding time scale. And so whatever war was present at the time after Vietnam, that was kind of Frank's backstory. That is not the case for Punisher Max. Here it's just from Vietnam to like modern day. And Of course, in a Punisher Max world, we also have like a female Punisher. Unlike the other women on this list, Jennifer Chisar's story is even grittier, fitting right into the Max imprint, because the Marvel Max imprint is like for adults and has more dark and violent themes than the regular Marvel universe. Jennifer was a mafia enforcer, a woman already deep in a world of crime, but when she was double crossed and left for dead, she turned the same ruthlessness back on her former allies. Where Frank and Rachel had tragic pasts that drove them, Jennifer was already like a predator, just one that was turned against the people who made her. Now her arc in Punisher Max is a brutal, no holds barred revenge story that kind of pushes the boundaries of what it means to be a Punisher. But even in the darkest corners of Marvel Universe, the Punisher's ideology can manifest in unexpected and terrifying ways, and this is proven by Jennifer Chisare. In conclusion, each of these women took up the mantle of the Punisher in their own way, shaped by their experiences and their personal codes, and by their actions they proved that Frank Castle's war on crime is bigger than just one man. Which one of these female Punishers are you familiar with? Do you think Marvel should bring them back into the spotlight? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives and the whole shabazz.
Don't forget to subscribe. Now get the fuck out of my driveway.